Video on case study 4 just to clarify a few things. I meant to change the instructions, change the whole worksheet, and I forgot to. So just real quickly, I'm going to flip over to Canvas and pull up case study 4. And it says on there, part 1 is required, part 2 will be bonus. So you only have to do part 1. And part 1 goes with chapter 8. So it's the confidence intervals. So let's pull up case study 4. And what it's talking about is it's looking at wood stoves and pollution levels. So it's this town in Montana has high levels of pollution in the winter because of some old wood stoves. And they're wondering if they replace the wood stoves with newer ones, if they can lower the pollutant levels. So there's 4 different pollutants that they're looking at. And I don't know how to pronounce some of these, so I'm just going to say PM, TC, OC, and LE. And those are produced by those wood stoves. So to figure out if they've reduced, they collect some data before they replace the stoves. So these numbers down here, these 4 numbers, these are your baseline. This is before replacement. Okay. So the data is in the file 08 case study. And what's in that data is the data for year 1 and year 2 following replacement for each of these 4 pollutants. So it'll say year 1, PM, and have a set of data, OC, and have a set of data, TC, and have a set of data, LE. Then it has the same thing for year 2. So you're going to start off with the year 1 data. And for each of them, it says to construct a box plot, but you could also make a histogram. And what you're looking for is to make sure that it's not overly skewed, that you don't have any extreme outliers in the data. So that's what you're doing on number 1. On number 2, you're going to construct a 95% confidence interval. Now, you do not have a population standard deviation, so you're going to be using just the sample data. That's very important. You're just going to have your sample data. So from that sample data, you're going to have to find the mean of the sample data, so the sample mean, and the sample standard deviation for each set of data for year 1, and construct a 95% confidence interval for each set of data for year 1. And then you're going to have to decide if that confidence interval shows that the mean levels for year 1 are lower than these baselines. Are all of them lower? Are just some of them lower? Which ones are lower? So you're going to need to specifically tell me which ones are lower. Then they run another test in year 2, so you're going to repeat this same exercise for the year 2 data. So let's go through this again. Let me go back to the data. Whoops, I went way too far back. Oh, goodness. Okay, so I'm going to go back to case study 4. I'm going to pull up the data this time. So here's the data. So year 1. Notice there's 4 columns for year 1, PM, OC, TC, and LE. You're going to take this data, just that first column, and you're going to find the mean and the standard deviation for the sample data for PM, find the confidence interval, I believe it's set at a 95% confidence level, and then decide if it's lower than the baseline level. Do the same thing for the OC, do the same thing for TC, and do the same thing for LE. If you have any further questions, feel free to email me.